Happy Halloween, excursionists. Thank you for joining us for this special Halloween episode of Into the Night. Before we begin, I wanted to let you all know that I am taking a personal hiatus for the month of November. But not to worry. Into the Night will be right here for you every week for the entire month of November. We have something very special planned, and it will serve as our Season 1 finale. Tune in every Thursday all month long and enjoy this extra special excursion. But for now, look. The path is just ahead. Are you ready? Welcome to Into the Night. I'm Nari, your guide on today's excursion down a twisted path. Be careful not to get lost. Be it dark or light, it's easy to lose your way. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Into the night. The crunching gravel beneath his feet in the pitch-black darkness of the night unnerved Clarence Schiffler, even as he swore this was a necessary trip. Never a fan of the dark to begin with, the added stress of the evening made his long walk down the deserted road even less appealing. His day hadn't begun badly. In fact, he awoke that morning from a much-needed slumber with the knowledge that this was his day. Life was finally turning a corner for him, and that brought peace to his weary soul. Work had been mundane for many years, and he was eager for the opportunity to advance. Not everyone was able to, and the awareness that he'd reached the cusp of that accomplishment gave him great satisfaction. He'd followed in the footsteps of his father and grandfather as they had their predecessors. It wasn't as though he had any choice. Family expectations and societal demands required that he do his duty. What Clarence had really wanted was to be a concert pianist. As a child, he begged his parents for a piano and lessons, and they finally caved to his pleading. He was quite good if he did say so himself. He had to be careful, however. His family lived behind a funeral home, and Clarence had to be respectful during business hours. He couldn't plink on the piano or break into a thundering rendition of Mozart while mourners gathered to make arrangements or to have a service. Yes, there were drawbacks to living so close to a mortuary, but his father insisted their locale made getting to his job easier, and who was Clarence to buck adult logic? Of course, that was years ago. Clarence was now all grown up, with responsibilities and job concerns of his own. That brought Clarence back to the now, and his lonely walk down this dark and isolated dirt road somewhere between his car and his destination. 3 miles may not sound like much of a walk, unless you've been placed in Clarence's shoes, walking and stumbling through the darkness on a loose gravel road. A recent rain had cut ruts into the ground, and more than once Clarence turned his ankle on a rock. Limping only further slowed his progress. He shouldn't be afraid of the dark, but he was. He'd spent his life being mocked and ridiculed by family members. They called him weak and a scaredy cat. It stung him to this day, so he kept his fears secret now. His face reddened just thinking of the shame he'd carried for this ridiculous phobia he had. Just then, something reached out from the darkness and softly stroked his arm. In another step, it happened again. His heart rate quickened, and a sense of panic began to overtake him. That was nothing more than the branches of a blackberry bush. I must have walked too close to the edge of the road. Satisfied with that rationalization, Clarence moved a few steps to the left and continued. He had to make better time if he was to make it to the warehouse to meet his clients. This was a major account, and his bosses already made it clear that his future with the firm depended on his performance tonight. Make the clients happy, and that promotion was his. Screw it up, and his name was out of consideration. This would all be so simple if my car hadn't broken down just as I turned off the highway. How was I supposed to see that log laying across the road? I've probably wrecked the oil pan or torn some hoses loose. Whatever it was, fluid leaked everywhere. Clarence's evening had included a fight with his girlfriend as well. She didn't think he took her out to eat enough. "You're in the food business, Clarence, and you never bother to take me anywhere nice. A girl likes to be treated sometimes. My ex-boyfriend Herb, he always took me out." Well, that was enough to set Clarence off. He was sick and tired of being compared to Herb, the good-looking, womanizing jerk of her past. The last thing he needed was for Brenda to nag at him or to sing Herb's praises. His self-esteem was tenuous enough. To make matters worse, thunderheads lit up with lightning. That was another of Clarence's fears. While his family loved a good thunderstorm and would stand in the yard watching them, Clarence stayed inside, usually hugging his pillow and wondering if it was okay for a grown man to suck his thumb. It wasn't, by the way. The one time he had tried, his little sister walked in and he became the butt of jokes for years. "Hey, Clarence, it's about to storm. That really sucks, doesn't it?" His family was full of assholes, Clarence decided. He picked up his pace, hoping to be finished with his business transaction before the first raindrop fell. At least his thoughts were busy as he made his way closer and closer to the warehouse. That gave him less time to dwell on what had touched his arm before. Turn right at the intersection. Okay, I think I'm there. Lightning flashed in the sky, giving him enough of a chance to see that he was indeed at the intersection. He turned the corner, relieved to see the lights of his client's vehicle turning into the parking lot of the warehouse. Heck, he might even pick up a snack for himself while he was there. A smile broke over his face as he read the wrought iron sign looming above him. Eastwood Cemetery. Yes, he'd made it in time to close the deal and get that promotion he'd waited so long for. His walk into the night had paid off. Being a ghoul wasn't easy, but tonight it felt pretty good. Thank you for joining me for Into the Night, an anthology series written by Caroline Giammanco, narrated and produced by Nari Kwak, with music created by Alex Sexton. You can find our links in the description below. Into the Night is available on your favorite podcast directory, so be sure to subscribe and follow so you never miss an episode. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review, as it really does help new excursionists to find their way here. Share with any of your friends who you think would like to join us. Also, stop by and say hi sometime. We're on Twitter at Into the Night Pod or by email at itnanthology@gmail.com. I'll see you next time. And remember, whether in the shadows or in the daylight, all twisted paths take you into the night.